The education system was created when the certain nation decided that they wanted to rule the world. And if you want to rule the world, you don't want to give them an education that can empower them and free them.
Wow.
You want to give them an education that makes them slave.
इतने सारे लोग परेशान हैं autoimmune diseases से. There are some horrible diseases which are curable today because of science. But वो होते क्यों हैं? Cancer क्यों होता है?
Stress has become medal. So if you're not stressed, that means you're not hardworking.
If you have time, then you're a loser.
So that has created a illusion in our space that we have to be doing something.
ऐसे बहुत से लोग हैं आज जो career wise they're not satisfied.
85% of the people are dissatisfied with their careers. Life is being. That's why you're called human being. You're not human doing. A lot of athletes, a lot of CEOs, a lot of Fortune 500 company owners, they're all focusing on how to get into the Gamma state because that is a state where you become Arjun.
Hi, Dr. Meghna.
Hi, Chhavi.
I have been totally looking forward to having you on the show for so long और आपकी और मेरी dates ही match नहीं हो रही थी.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that finally we are doing it.
Yeah, super happy.
So I've been following you on Instagram and I know that you talk about a lot of things, but I want to ask you, what is it that you exactly do?
Okay, it's a great question, right? So I started out as an Ayurvedic doctor about 28 years back. Started working with a lot of chronic illness patients like autoimmune disorders, endocrine systems, all the chronic patients used to come. And for the first 7 years, yes, I was working with the diet and medicine and all those things, but something was kind of missing, I felt.
Okay.
And I just landed up talking with a lot of those people. Okay. And what I realized is the missing piece in their healing and recovery, complete recovery, was the emotions.
Okay.
So all your diseases come from emotional problems. If suppose somebody has gone through a traumatic experience or maybe an ongoing long-term event in their life, maybe it could be financial insecurity, it could be parents neglecting them or whatever it is, like, creating the shame, guilt, and resentment and keeping it that keeping those emotions inside you eventually turns into poison. Because see, if a person is born healthy,
Yeah.
something is happening in their life that the body is creating unhealthy, right? It cannot just happen out of the blue. Nobody can have an autoimmune disorder or an endocrine system upset all of a sudden overnight.
So you're saying autoimmune diseases happen because of emotional baggage.
Absolutely, 100%.
तो वो सिर्फ डाइट से क्योर नहीं होंगे?
Absolutely no.
You mean I have to like look within myself and clean out all the baggage to cure my...
You may have the baggage or you may not have the baggage because I'm sure you may have worked on yourself. But there is a possibility that the trigger that had happened whenever the diagnosis happened of autoimmune, but there's a possibility that the trigger is way back in history.
As in, matlab?
It could be in your childhood. It could come from not just in your life, maybe not experiencing something yourself, but maybe objectively experience something, somebody else's trauma or somebody else's challenges. It could come from your grandparents, it could come from your parents' life.
Matlab, let's say at the age of 40, if you start showing signs of an autoimmune disorder, you're saying that it could go way back to your childhood.
Absolutely. Because autoimmune cannot happen suddenly. See, what is autoimmune? Immune system is one of the foundational systems of human body. But immune system is getting directed by the nervous system. And nervous system is the one that is connected to your subconscious mind.
But ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि suddenly there is something that has happened in your life which has caused some kind of trauma and that kind of flares up your autoimmune conditions.
See, I'll give you an example, okay? So what happens is the nervous system gets the information from the mind. All the thoughts go to the nervous system. There's a nervous system called There's a nervous system called autonomous nervous system.
Okay.
So autonomous nervous system has got two different systems under it. One is sympathetic nervous system and one is parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system, typically in yoga, which is called as Surya Nadi,
Okay.
and parasympathetic nervous system, which is called as Chandra Nadi. These are
ये क्या होता
these
है?
are the
ये कुछ
yogic
physically कुछ होता है body
energy
में?
channels.
अच्छा.
At the
okay.
same time, there are actual nervous systems. So sympathetic nervous system works on your fight and flight response. It keeps you in survival. It controls your body. Whereas parasympathetic nervous system controls your mind and your thoughts. So in short, every thought that comes to you, and generally a human being gets about 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day.
Okay.
And you can't control the thoughts. Sometimes they come from your life, sometimes they come from environment, sometimes they come, and there are three kinds of thoughts. You can have generational thoughts, like the patterns that are running in your DNA and your genetics. Then there are gestational thoughts, when you're in your mother's womb, what experiences your mother and you went through.
Oh my God.
And the third is going to be your experiential. And majority of these experiences that our body stores is from our childhood till the age of 7 to 9. So all of this is stored in your cellular memory. And every cell of your body has a consciousness, just like your body has. So body is one big organization which has got so many different organisms inside it. So all of this information is processed by your nervous system. After the nervous system processes, the two nervous systems come in place. If the information coming to your nervous system is very threatful or alarming, think about it as if a lion chasing you or tiger chasing you. It's that kind of a life if you are having or you have led. Then the sympathetic nervous system will come in place. And sympathetic nervous system is like, you can think of it as an accelerator of a car.
Okay.
And parasympathetic is like a brake.
Oh, okay.
So when a tiger is chasing you, you don't have time to breathe or meditate or digest. You only are running or hiding. And when your parasympathetic nervous system is in place, you are easy with your life. You're able to breathe well. You're able to live your life well. Now what happens is, as I said, there are three different kinds of thoughts. So suppose something has happened in your genetics. Like I talk about this, like a lot of times we ignore the invasions that our country has gone through. And it's very recent, right? Just like 75 years back, there has been a complete upheaval in the country. And before that, whatever has happened. So all of those are imprints still there inside you. Then suppose something has happened when you were in your mother's womb and she went through some kind of a trauma. You have captured all of those insights into your DNA. Why it is captured? Because it is supposed to keep you safe. The information which is stored inside you is for your survival. So the day the trigger comes in your space, like when you said that at the age of 40, can I go through a trauma and autoimmune can trigger? It can, but the information is already there in the system. So what has happened is that with that event, now it got triggered and your system started feeling, oh, there's a constant tiger chasing me. There's no time to digest, there's no time to breathe, there's no time to sleep. I have to run and run and run. In that case, the immune system will produce three different responses before getting into autoimmune. So it's not happened at 40. It is giving you signals in probably 10, 15 years, which you ignored. And that's where it went into the full-blown disease.
But how can you recognize these signals?
Yeah, I'm coming to that. So the first response of autoimmune of the immune system is going to be suppression. So when people's immune systems are suppressed, they get into breathlessness, they get into asthma.
Okay.
Then if you don't listen to that, the immune system will get into hyperaction. And then you will have the hives on the body, the urticaria, allergies, and constant cold and cough. Like, you don't know where it is, why it is happening. People label it as, oh, I've got a dust allergy, I've got a gluten allergy, and I've got now all the fancy names that have come in place. It's basically...
But it is not an allergy.
No,
what is it?
It is your nervous system reacting to a certain trigger, which you have not yet dealt with. And then you ignore that as well. And then, what will happen is like, say, can I use Hindi as well?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, समझो कि हमारी फैमिली में बड़ी फैमिली है और फंक्शन हो रहा है and there are 50 cousins in the house and you know how in the functions, right, we all sleep in one room like in a big hall, everybody's sleeping and it's all dark in the night, so one cousin wakes up because wants to go to the loo and stumbles upon the another one and falls down. Now the other one who gets this cousin falling on him gets scared कि कोई चोर आ गया, wakes up everybody and in the darkness they're beating their own cousin thinking चोर है. That's autoimmune disorder basically, because what happens is your own immunity, which is your fighting system, your army, is now thinking that there are two parts of you, they're fighting with each other. So emotionally, if you look at this system, a part of you which wants to overcome the challenge, which wants to love you and forgive you and take you forward, is now getting beaten up by the part of you that thinks loving and forgiving and caring itself is a threat. Because if you start loving yourself, what if you get led back, and what if you get attacked? So I have to kill that part of you which is even thinking of forgiving yourself.
So the first thing you said is suppression.
Yeah.
Second is?
Hyperaction.
And this is, मतलब sequence में होता है कि पहले आप
sometimes it can go in hyperaction, sometimes it can go in suppression. But it's giving you signals. It's giving you some headaches sometimes. It's giving you some aches and pains and inflammation in the body.
I'm sure my body is giving me signals of hyperaction. What am I supposed to do about it?
So you got to address where is the trigger coming from?
How do I do that?
So it's so first of all, because you're not an expert, maybe it's very difficult to do that. But if suppose you want to start somewhere, my suggestion first is find an expert and go. Because they will take you through those typical experiences, or maybe you will ask a typical question, because it's all questioning and going back to the time.
Is it a bit like therapy?
Yes, possibly. Or there can be various other modalities that can be used as well, not just exactly therapy. And I definitely don't talk about the cognitive therapies where you're just having a conversation.
Yeah.
No, they will take you to the conscious awareness of.
Right.
So you need to go a little deeper in trance inductions and understanding where it is coming from, or maybe even in cognitive therapies, maybe talking a lot more about not just your life, but possibly your parents or their history, your grandparents' history. Like you were mentioning that your grandmother was alive and your grandfather was alive for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now their history is also carried with you in your DNA, right?
Yeah.
So anything can get triggered. So how do you start dealing with this on your own if you can't go to someone, or maybe you want to do something on your own initially? So I always give this suggestion to all my students, like, just make sure that every single day you write your story, and not the day. You write how you view your life.
Matlab?
As much as you can remember from your life.
So you write that
entire story every day, and just burn it. Burning is very symbolic, right? So say, let's say if somebody's family has gone through a separation experience in, when India got freedom, and they just left everything and they came to India and they didn't have anything. Now that is stored in your system. That's a cellular memory which is stored in your system through your parents.
Even if it's happened to your grandparents?
Yeah. Because your
When
parents
you were not even there at that time?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you were there. Just not in physical existence.
Oh.
See, the DNA multiplies 7 generations. And DNA is nothing else but it's a software. It carries all the information that's required for you to survive. That's how the human DNA is made.
Okay.
Because when a baby is born, if you see, most species on the planet are quite self-reliant in maybe 2 hours to 2 days time. It's only a human being who's dependent on their adults till maybe 18.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to be dependent on your environment, then it's extremely essential for you to prepare yourself for the environment. Right? And that's the reason generational, gestational and personal experience. So when the baby is born, the baby is pretty helpless, right? They can't hold their head. They are not able to see clearly. So there's so much happening. So they get prepared right in the mother's womb, or even at the conception, what's going to be my life after I'm born? Because if the environment is extremely good, okay, great. I'm not in the survival mindset now, and I'm thriving in my life. But if my environment is very chaotic, very dysfunctional, and my parents have gone through something or they're going through something, my mother has typical thoughts or my father speaks in a certain way, of course, the baby doesn't know the mother and father at that time.
Right.
They are just the caregivers. Father doesn't even come in a picture till the baby is actually grown up. Yeah. No, even grown. Not even till the baby is like 3-4 months, they don't recognize that person as father.
Oh.
It's the mother is also not recognized as a mother, but it's the primary caregiver.
Right.
Right? So, okay, this is my food, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So, That's my survival. And in fact, to an extent, that if the father is working and father comes back in the evening, and if the mother's attention is going to father, father rather becomes like, oh, that's
He's
the
an
threat to my
intruder.
survivor. Right?
Okay.
Because now the one who's taking care of me is now taking care of this one. So it's a very primary instinct.
Okay.
It's only when the father's engagement and so the father gets introduced to the baby, and the father's behavior with the baby establishes the primary relationship. So there is so much embedded in your system that any kind of environment that you go through eventually, and if there is a trigger in that environment that makes you feel that, okay, there's a tiger who's chasing me, you're going to get triggered.
Is it something like what your trigger point today is? You're saying it could stem from the partition that your grandparents saw.
Not exactly.
Then?
That happened that time.
Huh?
It's there in your system. It won't happen in one trigger. It won't happen in one time you experience something and it'll happen.
Right.
But the one time also, if you had a very, very devastating experience, it can get triggered.
So let's say if you're constantly getting
Exposed
that
to.
trigger again
Yeah.
and again, or
Yes.
if the situation around you or your
Yes.
environment around you changes
Absolutely.
like that, then
Absolutely.
it could constantly
Yeah.
trigger, and then your
Absolutely.
diseases could.
Absolutely. Because see, none of us are taught in school and college how to deal with our regular triggers and emotions.
Yeah, why is that? They should teach, no?
Absolutely. This is such a fundamental, most important skill set. Now, I don't know whether you want to cover this into the podcast or no, because I'm going to take a dig on the education system in terms of...
Please go ahead.
Because if you look at it, the education system was created in 16th, 17th century, when the certain nation decided that they wanted to rule the world. And if you want to rule the world, you don't want to give them an education that can empower them and free them.
Wow.
You want to give them an education that makes them slave.
Whoa.
Right?
Right.
That's what they were looking for. So, and secondly, back then there were no computers. So they needed a human brain to act like computer. So I have to feed the same information to every single person on this planet, so that if I'm doing something in India and if I'm doing something in Africa, it has to be same. The produce has to come out the same. The result has to come same. So I have to teach people exact that information that helps me.
Have you heard about the Waldorf education?
Of course.
What do you think about that?
I love it. I love it because it's very experiential, and most importantly, I love about Waldorf is they emphasize on even training parents.
Yeah.
That's extremely critical, because at the end you're spending so much time in school,
Yeah.
but you're also spending a lot of time at
home.
home. But I will go a little beyond Waldorf and say that in Ayurveda there is something called as Garbh Sanskaar.
Oh, okay.
Now, Garbh Sanskaar starts before the parents conceive the baby.
Oh.
So there is a cleansing that happens for both the parents. So they go right to the cleansing of the mind and body of the woman and the man. So that in Ayurveda it says that your reproductive system juices are produced the last.
Acha.
So it takes sometimes 8 to 9 days for the food that you've eaten today to reach your, to create the reproductive system juices.
Oh.
It's that long a digestion happening in your body for a certain food.
Okay.
So that much, like, imagine the impact of your food and your mind is not just for the day or for a few hours. It's for days and years that's happening. So 21 days cycle a man goes through and a woman goes through to cleanse themselves internally and externally.
This is so that they don't pass on the...
Yes,
Right.
exactly. So you're cleaning up, and then you're conceiving a child. And then when you're conceived a child, the mother and father both go through the Garbh Sanskaar. The Garbh Sanskaar includes the diet, certain herbs, what you have to read, what you have to chant, what you have to think about. Everything is. And before even conceiving the baby, you actually set an intention. We call it Sankalpa
Okay.
of the baby. So what's the intention? What kind of a child would you like to conceive? So see, we hear these stories from Mahabharata and Ramayana that there was a havan done and, they set an intention.
Yeah.
It is right there in our history. That's setting an intention, right? So when you're setting an intention, you're creating a child, because it's like any other project, right? When
We've heard these stories, but we actually don't know the actual story or the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And that's why we feel
but
sub superstition.
But that's again the education system flaw, because the history was strategically turned into mythology. What is mythology? Myth is not true. Right? So when we start saying it's Hindu mythology, we automatically feed ourselves there's no evidence, it's not true, and stuff like that. So what happened in 16th century, actually this goes way back in 16th century, where when the scientists like Galileo and all were talking about the certain ways of universe and earth, and we can go back to even Greek philosophers and scientists like Plato and Aristotle. They were all talking about certain things, right? And the certain institute was not okay with this kind of information. So they started beheading and burning the people, right, alive, or put them into the dungeons. And then the institute gave a specific role to a scientist called René Descartes to explain the principles of universe. And René's system, René onwards, René separated body and mind. So whatever he tangibly could explain, he put into the physics. And whatever he could not see, he put into the religion. So religious institutions became powerful. But if you go back into ancient Indian Gurukul system, every child was trained in body and mind, because it's an integral part. 16th century, the whole education system separated body and mind. And if people have a different way of thinking, they started getting electric shocks, they started getting isolations, they were killed. And only body started getting emphasis. And then after René came Newton and proved the principles of physics. And since then, the education system started teaching Newtonian physics. But hundreds of years back, now the research proves us that there is something called as quantum physics. And the quantum physics talks about energy and matter. And it's always there in our system. If you go back to our all Vedic scriptures,
we just don't know it. We
just don't know it. Because nobody taught us, right? For 400 years, if you don't teach something and your entire institution like Nalanda is burned down, and 6 months the burning was on for those books, that means imagine the wealth of books that we had, and a lot of the books are also stolen and taken away from us. So it was meant to create the slave society. So, sorry, it's a longish answer to your question.
No, that's great. I'm really trying to understand this whole, and I think a lot of viewers would also be interested in knowing कि autoimmune होता क्यों है? Because इतने सारे लोग परेशान हैं autoimmune diseases से, and different kinds of diseases. I mean, there are some horrible diseases which are curable today because of science, but वो होते क्यों हैं? कैंसर क्यों होता है किसी को नहीं पता है, ऑटो इम्यून क्यों होता है किसी को नहीं पता है, और उसका करना क्या है. आई मीन हाउ मेनी स्टेरॉइड्स कैन यू पॉप इन योर बॉडी, एंड आई मीन आई नो दैट आई एम सफरिंग फ्रॉम सर्टेन ऑटो इम्यून कंडीशंस, एंड व्हेन आई पॉप द स्टेरॉइड्स आई एम फाइन, देन आई स्टॉप द स्टेरॉइड्स एंड आई एम नॉट, एंड देन द स्टेरॉइड्स हैव देयर ओन साइड इफेक्ट्स, एंड देन फॉर दोज साइड इफेक्ट्स यू हैव मोर मेडिसिन्स. इट्स जस्ट अ विशियस सर्कल दैट यू जस्ट कीप गेटिंग इनटू. सो येस, इट्स ग्रेट दैट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कहाँ से ये स्टेम होता है, और ये सारी चीज़ें. इफ एवरीबडी कैन बी अ लिटिल मोर माइंडफुल अबाउट दीज थिंग्स, एंड आई विश that, like you said, education system में थोड़ा ये सब भी होना चाहिए. My children go to Waldorf school, and I'm also very happy with the way they are taught over there. And yes, they also teach parents. So in fact मैंने तो Waldorf education course भी किया है. So I have an in-depth knowledge about it. But what you're saying is, it's absolutely something which is opening my mind right now. So how did you realize कि आयुर्वेदा से नहीं हो रहा है, तो अभी मुझे ये करना है? मतलब how did you study it?
I don't think Ayurveda से नहीं हो रहा है. This is part of Ayurveda. The entire system of one. So there are 8 parts of Ayurveda, and Ayurveda is system of Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda is one of the Vedas, like 4 Vedas, right? So Ayurveda has 8 different aspects, and one of them is the Agada Tantra, which has got Manovigyan. So just that we don't see frequently Ayurvedic practitioners practicing the mind part, and emotions part. So
So this is something that you learned as part of Ayurveda, is it?
not in an elaborate way, but then I started diving deeper
Okay.
to understand what is exactly it is, how it is impacting us. Then I started studying the neuroscience. I started studying the chemicals that are running in our body and how the chemicals create the impact in the body.
This all must be so interesting.
Absolutely fascinating that every single person I connect with, I talk to, I work with, it's absolutely fascinating just to see the minutest changes. Like yesterday, I was doing an intervention with this one woman, and she's clueless about her future. She's 32 and she's not yet cleared her CS exam. She's a CA, but she's really not interested in it. But her father is a lawyer and a CS, and things like that. Like not getting into detail of the story, but complications. And she's clueless, she's confused, and she's saying, I don't feel like studying. And I ended up asking her a few questions, and of course the father's pressure is there that you have to do this. And then she started talking about yoga and emotional wellness, and you could literally see the two different sides of her. And there was like one part of her which was like, when she was talking about CA and CS, there was like literally she was releasing the chemicals as if the tiger is chasing her in terms of adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormones, and the skin was becoming instantly dark.
Oh.
And the moment she started talking about yoga, wellness, and how she wants to create a beautiful place for people to come and not just meditate, but, you know, dance and express themselves. And I said, okay. And the moment she started talking that, she was releasing oxytocin, dopamine, and the whole skin color just kind of became, 4 shades lighter. And it was like this. The wrinkles, when she's talking about CA and CS, there's so much wrinkles on her face, and she's like fearful, she's sweating, and she's asking, can I switch on the AC? Can I switch on the fan? And she's like literally having that effect of tiger chasing. And here she's talking about this beautiful dream that she has, and she's literally like floating in the juice of oxytocin, feeling so much love.
But tell me that somebody like her, let's take her example. Why did she visit you? Is she suffering from some
So what I do right now is, Chhavi, somewhere in my life, down the line about 10 years later in my career, I realized that why do I need to wait for people to fall sick to help them? And that's where I navigated from being just an Ayurvedic doctor to navigating into the coaching part, where I'm helping people to fix their challenges, that repair the past, I would say, rather than fixing repair the past in terms of whatever has happened in your past. Of course, you cannot eliminate or erase
undo it, right?
But you can have a different perspective and be grateful and forgiving. The more you're able to change the perspective that you have about life and yourself, automatically you start floating into the juices of oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and dopamine. And once that dose is released in your body, you don't feel the need of medicinal dose.
But tell me that here's this woman who is being forced to do something that she doesn't want to do, and then she has her own passion which she really likes. ऐसे बहुत से लोग हैं आज दुनिया में जो career wise they're not satisfied because probably they're in the wrong career,
in fact, to give you real statistics, Gallup survey says in 2023, 85% of the people are dissatisfied with their careers.
तो ऐसे लोगों को क्या करना चाहिए? I mean, I just want to like put practicality into it कि you have a family to support, you know, you have a certain income that's coming in, there's a job security in your line.
Absolutely.
लेकिन आप करना नहीं चाहते हो. Somewhere deep within you want to do something else, but you just don't have the guts to go ahead and ये सब छोड़ के कुछ नया करो. ऐसे लोगों के लिए like what do you suggest for them?
Honestly, Chhavi, I have done that myself. Like when I was doing a medical practice, I had a thriving practice, and taking a big decision to move to this kind of a practice, which is medicine free. It was a big thing for me. And I don't come from a rich background. I come from a very humble background. I had my middle class parents, those who always enforce that don't leave the things that you already have in your hand for something that you have not seen.
Absolutely.
Right? So what I suggested to this girl and every single person, and this is what I did myself, that you are a CA, I said, so get a job. And know that the job, give your 100% to the job, and know that the job is paying your bills, right? It's keeping you independent, so that your father is okay with all that.
Correct.
And second thing you do is, you have to put in extra effort. Like suppose you're doing 8 hours a job, and you want to do this thing. I said, you give 4 hours every day for your dream. Educate yourself into it, focus onto it, create some content onto it, freely publish it across, help some people with your passion and see the results that they're getting. Get more testimonials from them that you're really able to help them. And then I said, once you start making money from your passion, the equal amount of money for the next 6 months that your job pays,
Then you're ready to move.
Then you're ready to move. Because then you have, then you're not even frivolous in your. See, a lot of people make a mistake when they talk about passion. I
Yeah.
personally feel.
Okay.
The word passion comes from the word, it talks about Christ's passion. Right? So, what is Christ's passion? Christ was ready to burn himself for what he wanted to achieve. He was ready to sacrifice. So, passion is basically not what you like to do. Passion is basically what are you ready to sacrifice in order to get to what you want to do.
Right.
So most people don't understand there is a lot of sacrifice to go where you want
Chase
to go.
your passion.
Yeah. So it's a very frivolous word used today, that you can make passion turn into profit, and a lot of people just move around with mediocre skill set thinking this is my passion, right?
Absolutely.
That's not. It takes a lot of effort. I mean, you would know to get to the place that you are in, how many hours of dedication and practice you have to put in to create the mastery.
I just want to share a little anecdote here that when I started the YouTube channel, got into the content business 9 years ago, I was a television actor. It was a very, very lucrative career, very well paying, very comfortable. But there was something missing. I was not getting the roles that I wanted to do. I was getting frustrated with it. And I knew that I want to create something for myself for which I don't have to depend on others. कि सामने से मुझे कोई प्रोड्यूसर कॉल करेगा, मेरा ड्रीम रोल मुझे देगा, वो सिचुएशन आएगी कब आएगी यार? I was 32 at that time. I said, nahi, I have to do something on my own. So my husband was directing also, very, very lucrative career. He was doing some biggest shows on TV at that time, बड़े अच्छे लगते हैं, पवित्र रिश्ता. He was directing all those shows. Decided to stop. One fine day decided to stop. Like कल से set पर नहीं जाएंगे वाली बात हमने की, and figured out, gave ourselves 3 months to figure out what we want to do. We still didn't know what we wanted to do. We just said कि 3 महीने कुछ नहीं करेंगे, सोचेंगे कितने पैसे हैं अकाउंट में, कितने टाइम हम सस्टेन कर सकते हैं, उसके हिसाब से हमने we took a sabbatical, and then we decided that okay, we'll start these videos on YouTube, and we'll do these husband wife videos, and let's see how it goes. And we did it with so much passion, and we gave it everything that we had. And I mean, it really was fruitful because the first video itself went very viral. We got so much love from people, and then but that is where the journey began. यहाँ से passion again, brilliant, okay, and thankfully skill set bhi tha. But now how to make this a business opportunity? We didn't even know that YouTube could be monetized, or what is branded content. How do you do that? We had absolutely no idea. From this point onwards, it took us 2 years to get the first brand on board. For 2 years, we self-produced, we spent the money, we continued to have the faith, and I cannot even begin to tell you how much hard work we put into it.
I'm sure.
मतलब we had a 2-year-old daughter at that time, so we were very hands-on, both of us. तो पूरा दिन बेबी के साथ, फिर रात को हम लोग रात को बैठ के स्क्रिप्टिंग करते थे, फिर शूट भी करते थे खुद से, and we didn't have too much of people, to help us. We just had one editor. There was Mohit, me, and one actor. 4 people team. We used to do the camera ourselves, lighting ourselves, audio ourselves, everything ourselves.
Yeah.
So then when we started getting successful, we started getting calls from people asking, कैसे किया? कैसे होता है ये business? And we just say कि ऐसे अगर आप.
No, but what a marvelous job you have done.
Thank you.
Fabulous. I mean, I just love that series, and I keep watching it again and again, and it's like, it just lights you up. I think it's like you created something very, very iconic.
Thank you.
And it's like everybody can watch it. You can be with your child, you can be with your family. It's such a beautiful.
Thank you so much. We are very, very proud of it. Yeah. But just saying कि हमने कितनी मेहनत की उसके लिए, वो नहीं किसी को दिखता है. People just see the final end product and feel, wow, this is great. ये तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. And that's what.
That's what they say. Now the overnight success is having a 15 years of probably slogging behind it to get to overnight success.
Absolutely, and the experience.
Yeah, so it's I exactly gave the same advice to that girl, and I said, I said your father will support you in your journey if he really sees the metal in you.
Correct. Maybe like the other point that you are saying that with the mediocre amount of talent or skill set,
Yeah.
people pursue a passion. And I see so many people around me doing that. Actually, उनको करना है लेकिन कर नहीं पाते हैं.
नहीं,
So
correct.
क्या करना चाहिए? How can somebody recognize that is this what I'm meant to do or not?
See, most critical part. See, I'll go back to Mahabharata. Okay, so when Dronacharya was teaching all the Kuru and Pandav kids archery, right? He asked them to aim for the eye of the parrot, of the bird, right? And then he individually asked everybody to take a aim and see what they see.
Yeah, correct.
It was only Arjun who said that I can see the eye of the bird, right? And he couldn't hit the bullseye. That is something which is probably you're naturally talented at something.
Okay.
But that's not it all. I'm sure if the rest of those children would have learned from Arjun to focus on the eye, they would have become the great archers too.
Okay.
Right? So there are two things. One, we are talking about the talent, but I personally feel talent is overrated.
Okay.
I don't think I was talented to diagnose people's problems and emotional issues in just probably 1 or 2 minutes. Now today I am, because it's been 28 years of practice. So I don't think I'm gifted or blessed, or so are you. There's a lot of work and effort that you've put in, and there is a constant effort and improvement.
Correct.
So one of the things that every person needs to learn is to take the feedback. And feedback is not just somebody randomly giving you the feedback.
Correct.
वो तो social media पे बहुत आता है.
हाँ, वो नहीं चाहिए.
वो तो line लगी रहती है. Somebody cursing you, somebody liking you. So that's not what you want.
Yeah.
You want someone who's better than you, giving you the feedback at what you do.
Right.
And then apply that feedback, test it out, and see if it works for you. If it doesn't work, drop it, get another feedback.
But don't you think if you have a combination of both,
Yeah.
like you have your passion and you put practice into it, then,
No, I agree.
then you hit
So-
the jackpot. Like you,
Yeah.
like you yourself are saying that you really find all this very fascinating.
Absolutely.
If you did not find it fascinating, yet you are taking a deep dive into it, studying it,
Yeah.
maybe you would not be as good.
No,
But
I
you
don't-
find it fascinating.
Yeah, but I also don't think, Chhavi, that passion is something that is naturally you're inclined to.
हाँ.
So you will always have, like when you look back in your life, you must be always an entertainer. You always must be thinking differently, how to entertain differently, right from your childhood. So you go back in your life and you notice how people are talking to you. Like for me, I remember I was always a kanda for people.
Okay. Okay.
So I look back and I realize it now. Like you can connect the
Right.
dots backwards.
Right.
I don't think you can connect the dots forward. So something that fascinates you, something that you really enjoy, just do it. No, every passion doesn't have to convert into profession. Right? Profession can be different and passion can be different. And if it doesn't happen, don't feel sorry for yourself. Create a life
हाँ.
that allows you to, like I know a few doctors, those are practicing surgeons, and they are great photographers. So they do surgeries for money and for their profession. They're excellent surgeons.
Yeah.
And then they take often breaks and travel the world and get extremely good photographies done.
Wow.
But they are not doing it for money.
For money,
So
correct.
it's not necessary. We are
Necessarily,
equating it a lot in today's world. The passion
Correct.
has to turn into profession
Yeah.
and it should make you money.
हाँ.
It's really not necessary.
वो है ना, what is that saying? If you do what you love, you don't have to work a day in your life.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So if you change your thinking and see that, okay, I'm doing this work because I'm skilled into it and I'm very good at it and I'm helping a lot more people by my work. It's paying my bills also. And it's also giving me a lot of freedom of time and money to follow what I like to do for myself. I'll give you a small example. So my son dances very well. Okay, not that he's performing as a dancer or something. He dances very well and he doesn't mind doing it here and there. So and he sings very well.
Okay.
So he was very small when I asked him. So if you ask him to dance, he would just dance, like, you know. And if I would ask him to sing, he would say, no, I won't sing.
Okay.
So one day I curiously asked him, I said, so you whenever you are asked to dance, you dance. But whenever you're asked to sing, you don't sing. So he said, see, dancing for me is for other people and me. But
Oh.
singing for me is only for myself. I don't want to share it with the world. It is for me. And that, I was like stunned at that awareness.
Coach
at
kar
that
diya.
young, right? Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is great. So everything doesn't have to turn into profession and make money, because today's new age world is talking all this, and I think it's a lot more with social media, where you are, where you're fed the information that you got to have this lifestyle and you got to be living like this. And great, some people can create that lifestyle for themselves and some people can't. But
I think it's ये जो AI आजकल आई हुई है ना, जो AI का सब AI बोल रहे हैं, I think ये जो AI है ना, ये इतनी एडवांस्ड है कि आपके ब्रेन में घुस जाती है, और आप जो सोच रहे हो ना, वो थॉट के साथ जब आप इंस्टाग्राम खोलोगे तो वो ही आपको दिखाई देगा. अभी आप ये सोचो कि oh God, I'm 35 years old, I was supposed to have my own house, have my own wife and kids by now. तो वही आपको दिखेगा कि oh, at the age of 35 you should have this, and you're like, oh my God. So I think
it's another way of education, slaving, creating another slavery, right?
Yeah.
So we have created a box in our head now कि ऐसे होना
चाहिए. कितने standards हमने create कर लिए.
It's not necessary.
I think मैंने the how I realized that I'm good at acting or I'm good at writing or content creation, सब चीज़ें ट्राई कर ली.
हाँ.
Okay, सब चीज़ें ट्राई की, एडिटिंग भी ट्राई की, स्क्रिप्ट राइटिंग ट्राई की, आइडिएशन ट्राई की, पिचिंग ट्राई की. I mean, I made PPTs and pitched to brands, and उसके बाद रियलाइज़ किया कि इस चीज़ में मेरा इंटरेस्ट है, इस चीज़ में मेरा इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, इस चीज़ में मैं अच्छी हूँ, इस चीज़ में मैं अच्छी नहीं हूँ. And then, I followed those streams where my interest was also there and I was good at also, and stuck to those. And I still continue to experiment, like I'm doing this podcast now.
Absolutely.
I want to keep upgrading myself, and I'm sure I'll realize more things that I'm good at. But then my passion is also gymming. It's also working out, but I know that I don't want to be a trainer. You know?
Exactly, right? So there is, you can be multi-passionate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think you should be hard and fast. There's no hard and fast rule that your passion will pay you. Correct. It can be just for yourself.
Absolutely. And I think it's mandatory.
Yeah, and create a life for yourself. Yeah. Don't be... like I met somebody the other day on the airport, and he's attended my session in 2021, and he didn't continue his journey. Because his reason was, and he just came to me like, oh, ma'am, can I take a picture with you? And I'm like, yeah, I didn't recognize, because it's like online platform and there are so many people. And he said, I've done your session in pandemic. It really helped me a lot. And I said, then why didn't you continue doing? So he said that, I don't have time. My life is like 9 to 9 busy. And I just laughed and I said, I wish you could have continued. You could have created a better life. Because today what has happened in the last few decades, stress has become medal.
Yeah.
So if you're not stressed, that means you're not hardworking.
Oh my God, yes.
Right? And that means you're good for nothing. You're not ambitious. And if you're not ambitious, that means it's too bad.
And if you have time, then you're a loser.
Right? So that has created a illusion in our space that we have to be doing something. Life is not doing. Life is being. That's why you're called human being. You're not human doing.
Right.
So we all have the material inside us to create a life of human being. Where did we become a human doing?
Right.
So,
and in Waldorf, the teachers always say, मतलब हम लोग शुरुआत में पूछते थे उनसे कि बच्चा बोर हो रहा है घर में, क्या कराएं? हम उसको टीवी नहीं दिखा सकते, मोबाइल्स नहीं दे सकते, हम क्या करें? उसको बुक्स नहीं देनी है पिक्चर्स वाली, तो करें क्या? And they would always say that उसको बोर होने दो.
Yeah, exactly.
Just let him be. That is very, very important part of his growth.
Absolutely.
Let him be. So yeah.
Yeah, because the boredom creates innovation.
Correct.
Laziness creates creativity. And we have been labeled like if you're bored, you're depressed. If you're lazy, that means you're not ambitious at all. So labels have become a very big part of our life.
And when I was diagnosed with cancer, till that time, I was working 40 days a month. I was constantly running, and I was very proud of myself that, I don't have any time. I don't socialize. I don't go out. I'm busy. भाई साहब, उसके बाद मैंने realize किया कि उसमें कुछ भी, there's nothing to be proud of in that, and I need to give myself time.
Absolutely.
And do nothing.
Yeah.
So today, I mean, after 2 years and after having to go through all of that, it took me that struggle to realize the importance of myself and my time. That today when I feel that, okay, I don't want to go to office today, I just want to go have a cup of
Yeah.
coffee all by myself.
Absolutely.
I do it.
Yeah.
And I put my phone on the side, no social media, no people, nothing. It's just me staring into nothing. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I think it's the one of the biggest freedom of life is the slow mornings, slow days.
Yeah.
That you can say that, and I'm not saying that it happens overnight. You have to create
it's a-
that
it's
life.
a big,
Unless you're
yeah.
born in a family that can provide for your luxuries, that's a different story. But if you want to create a life of freedom, then yes, you got to work hard. But how do you work hard is also important. And major part of working hard is also working on your mind. Work
I think that's the
very
most
hard on your
important,
mind.
yeah.
Because if you see the universe, Vedas say that we are made up of Panchatattvas, Panchamahabhutas. And the universe is made up of Panchamahabhut. So what are the Panchamahabhut? Air, water, earth, fire and space. Ether.
Okay.
That's exactly there in your body too. Right? Now if you look at the universe, the matter that is earth, water, air and fire are only say 0.1%. And the space is 99.9%. Same goes with the body. That's macrocosm, this is microcosm.
Yeah.
Same goes with the body. Now, where is the space in the body? The space is your mind. That's your potential energy.
Oh.
And 99.9% of yourself, you're ignoring all your life. And you're operating on 0.1%.
Oh.
And you're expecting to create a miraculous, great life for yourself. That will require a lot of drudgery. That will require a lot of pushing yourself. And you're not going to feel motivated. So, biggest part of creating the life that you want is probably working 80% on your mindset and 20% on your skill set.
Wow.
The moment you work on your mindset, like you said,
How does one work on?
no,
on
you
that?
exactly narrated that a few minutes back, and you
Coffee
said
wala?
that we decided to just quit.
Acha, like that.
And we
Okay.
decided to just not do anything for 3 months.
Yeah.
There is this study done, I think in Princeton University, by scientists, neuroscientists, that they were trying, so there are brain waves, okay? We have 5 different brain waves. So when we are working hard and when we are chasing something, there's a fight and flight response that comes up, and that takes you into the beta brain wave. And beta brain wave is of alertness and focus, but that alertness and focus is the tiger is chasing me. So I will have a single point focus and I'll run in that direction, but mostly will run in the direction which will take you to safety. That will not take you to innovation. That the decision that you
Just
made.
be in your secure, safe
Yeah.
environment.
So this is paying me, no? When I'll get old, I'll think about doing my passion. You could have done that, right? You were making lakhs of rupees and you were thinking that this is such a good life and my life is just started. What am I? I'm just 32. I have a child.
Yeah.
And another 5-10 years, let me work like this. At 40, let me think about what needs to be done. Right? That's the beta state. When people are always waiting for something to happen.
Right.
Then what happens when you don't do anything? Comes the alpha state. The state of alpha brainwave, which is a relaxed state. And this is a state where you're most in your parasympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
where you're in the mode of receiving. You're no more chasing, but you're attracting.
Okay.
Then after this, so brainwave slows down.
How to get to that state?
I'll share with you.
Okay.
Give me a moment. Let me just
So eager to
explain the 5 stages of brainwaves first.
Okay.
So once alpha happens, then you get into a state of theta.
Okay.
Theta is a brain wave which is actually the brain wave of reprogramming. So why do we say that the children till the age of 7 are very impressionable?
Yeah.
And what you read around them, what you talk around them, what you expose them to creates a subconscious mind for them. And that is a state because children till the age of 7 are in theta brain wave. But every human being gets to the theta brain wave too. And that comes twice in a day in your life. In every day. Twice in a day. That is just before you're closing your eyes and you're drifting off to sleep.
Okay.
That window is there, that you're fully relaxed and now I'm just falling off to sleep. That small window of maybe 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Okay.
That's your theta brain wave. And the moment you wake up in the morning, you're like, your brain is just waking up. That's your theta brain wave. That is the time what you do is going to create the impression in your mind. Most people wake up with their phones and sleep with their phones.
Yeah.
Biggest mistake.
Yeah, but you have to catch up on Insta, no?
Oh, you can do it after 20 minutes. Insta is not going to run anywhere.
No, in the morning I play Wordle.
No, that's what I'm saying. So see, I have no problems. Anybody can do anything. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, what you asked me a question, how do I create that
Yeah.
life? So if you want to create that life, then what information are you feeding to your theta brain waves? Because that's where your brain is going to focus on. After theta comes delta. Delta is a state when you are in your REM sleep.
Okay.
That comes somewhere in the middle of the night, and it is somewhere between 2:30 to 3:30.
Yeah.
So if you see, most religious practices are asked to do between 2:30 to 3:30, because that is the time your pineal gland is most active, the third eye we talk about.
Wow, okay.
That's a reprogrammable state. That's where whatever you practice turns into gold.
But in REM mode, you're sleeping only.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
what
But
do you
what I'm
do?
saying is around that's one part of it. That
Okay.
time that it is released, but it's also the 2:30, 3 o'clock time, 2:30, 3:30 time, which is also called as Brahma Muhurta. That's a time your brain, pineal gland is at the optimum level, and it's releasing serotonin, which is an extremely important chemical for your well-being.
So I want to ask you, cutting you there, that I wake up always at
Yeah.
that time. Most nights, 9 out of 10
Yeah.
nights, I wake up at that time, and my brain just becomes active. I just start thinking about
Yeah.
work.
So at
about
that point
anything.
time, whatever thoughts come to you,
Yeah.
just keep a journal next to you, and just write them down. You'll find so much gold in those thoughts.
There is, so many times
Yeah.
I've solved
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm stuck at an edit.
Yeah.
And I feel इसका क्या कर सकते हैं,
Yeah.
क्या कर सकते हैं, and it
Yeah.
just comes to me at that time.
Yeah. And then after that delta state comes the gamma state.
Okay.
Gamma state is a peak performance state, which is a state where Sachin Tendulkar sees Shoaib Akhtar's ball as a football and is able to hit the sixer. Which is a state when your athletes or Picasso is painting and creating a masterpiece, like Michelangelo is creating a master sculpture. That's the gamma wave, which is you will see a lot of, I would say that there is a $1 trillion industry which is only working on creating a gamma state for people. So a lot of athletes, a lot of CEOs, a lot of Fortune 500 company owners, they are all focusing on how to get into the gamma state, because
How?
that is
How?
a state where you become Arjun,
Woohoo! I
where
wanna
you
become
are
Arjun.
fully relaxed in your body. It's also a state like beta. Now beta is also focused and alert,
हाँ.
but it is chasing.
हाँ.
The gamma is the focus, but that is attracting. So you will have a complete moment where you're only seeing the bird's eye and you're not seeing anything else, and you're able to hit that.
I don't think I've ever
Target.
been in that kind of state.
I'm sure you have been. We all go through that stage. Just that we have too many distractions that does not
Yeah.
allow that state to stay with us. And I'm now coming to the example I was talking about, the experiment again. So there was an experiment done at the Princeton University where scientists were doing experiments after experiments to find out how to get to the theta state. Okay? And they were doing everything possible, and they were not able to find the solution. There was one scientist who got so fed up of this whole thing that he just left everything and he went out. And after some time he came back inside and he suddenly had that epiphany and he could solve the problem.
Okay.
A lot of times when you're in the bathroom taking shower
Yeah.
or you're taking a dump,
Yeah.
great ideas come, right?
This is why we called our channel Shitty Ideas Training.
That's the gamma state.
Oh, I have to go take a dump for that.
You can take shower as well. No problem. But what I'm
No,
saying is,
yeah.
when you said that point, you said that we decided for 3 months we're not going to do anything. Or when you said that my child was asked to get bored.
Yeah.
That is a state you're hitting already, delta and gamma.
Yeah, but it's amazing because now you're saying these things. One doesn't really realize it. But yes, some of the most, how should I put it, thoughts that come to my mind when I'm showering are so isolated.
Yeah.
And I'm not distracted at that
Yes,
time.
exactly.
I'm thinking about that one thing and that one thing only.
Yeah.
And night, like I'm
Yeah.
saying, when I wake
Yeah,
up
yeah.
and I have epiphanies about how to solve this problem.
Exactly.
It just comes. And in fact, Mohit, also when he's ideating, 9 out of 10 times he falls asleep in the middle of a discussion,
Yeah.
in the middle of an idea where he's just getting stuck. Okay, ये तो ठीक है, concept level पे ठीक है, लेकिन ये story आगे कैसे जाएगी? ये नहीं मज़ा नहीं आ रहा, मज़ा नहीं, he'll just sleep.
Yeah.
10 minutes he'll wake up and he would have cracked
Exactly.
it.
So if you look at the history all the scientists, those who have been brilliant scientists and geniuses rather, Einstein or Newton or whoever we talk about, they all they were solving the mysteries of the universe, but at the same time, they were playing a musical instrument or maybe painting.
Oh.
Because when you do all those things, you're hitting the relaxed state of mind. And from that space, when you come back, you already have a solution for this. A lot of times it happens, Chhavi, for us. Have you ever been in a place where you met a very, very long lost acquaintance sometime, after 10, 15, 20 years, and they suddenly see you, you get excited, Arey, kya? When you start talking to them and, you are behind your, back of your mind, you're thinking, iska naam kya hai yaar? Iska naam kya hai yaar? Mujhe yaad kyun nahi aa raha hai? Right? And you say bye and you leave. And then you forget about it. Yeah. After 3-4 days, suddenly, Arey, naam yaad aa gaya.
Haan.
That's the state, because your subconscious is always seeking for answer. When you get distracted, most answers come. But you have to be working on something focused to then get distracted. If you're perpetually distracted.
I feel that. So my 5-year-old, when he comes to me, he says, Mama, will you do drawing with me? And I always say yes, because that's the only quality time that I get to spend with him. He'll bring me his book, he'll bring me his crayons. And these are books जिसमें वो already छपी हुई photos होती हैं, so सिर्फ color करना होता है. And while doing it, I'm not focusing कि ये बाहर नहीं जाए और color जो है वो पूरा smooth हो और वो ऐसा hard strokes नहीं हो, और अगर मैं round कर रही हूँ तो वो नजर. I'm focusing so much into it, and it's such a peaceful time for me. बीच में he comes and Mama, what color do you want? And he's मतलब मेरे husband को भी बिठा रखा है side में दूसरी करने के लिए. It is so peaceful, that time for me. Is that what kind of state am I in?
That's again, we talk about mandalas, right? The Tibetan philosophy talks about mandalas, or even Carl Jung, the famous Austrian psychologist, has done a full research on mandalas. So when you do those drawings and when you do those, I want to stay in the line, you're actually focused, but because you're using the colors and because there is no objective to it, right? You don't want to get anywhere.
Yeah.
You're just doing it in the present tense.
Yeah.
It's just the action. There is no past attached to it and there is no future attached to it.
Yeah.
Right? You're just enjoying that moment. You're already in theta, you're already in delta and gamma.
So I have to do more of Aram's drawings then.
You can do that, or a lot of times you can do mandalas. You get mandala books.
Okay.
And this is also a great way of distressing yourself. Also, hitting those brain waves where you can start channeling the great ideas. Or, in fact, bending the time. A lot of times, see, when you are in the state of theta, gamma and delta, this theta, delta and gamma respectively, you are actually bending time. Because see, time is a very man-made construct. Time is not linear.
Really?
In the universe, there is no time.
What?
It's eternal, no? The time is only Earth, right?
Oh.
There is no 24 hours in the universe.
Oh, yeah.
There is no day, there is no night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So time is eternal.
Right.
So when you put it in the construct of linear, you are actually thinking, okay, if it took me 5 or 10 years to get to this stage, it's going to take me another 10-20 years to get to that stage. A lot of people think like that, right?
Yeah.
कि मैं 60 के हो जाएंगे,
yeah.
जब 60 साल के हो जाएंगे तो रिटायर हो जाएंगे, then जाएंगे स्विट्जरलैंड पे आल्प्स पे और फिर शाहरुख खान की तरह और काजोल की तरह डांस करेंगे. ये बहुत लोगों के ड्रीम होते हैं कि तब मैं पैसे कमा के तब करेंगे, ऐसे करेंगे. लेकिन तब आल्प्स पे चढ़ने की हिम्मत नहीं होती है क्योंकि आपके नीज भूल चुके हैं उस समय तक, right? So you can literally bend the time to attract things to you.
Okay, Dr. Meghna, I'm just going to stop you on that thought, and I'm going to leave you guys to come back next week and watch part 2 of this conversation, because हमारी बातें जो है वो खत्म नहीं होने वाली हैं, बहुत सारी चीज़ें अभी और करनी है. But before that, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned.
Someone asked me a question, says that how do I attract the right relationship? I said, are you clear about what's the right relationship for you? Yes. I want this in that person. I want that in that person. I want this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I said, how many of these things you have in yourself? You know, one of the biggest mistakes people do in manifestations, actually 2 mistakes. One, thinking manifestation is something, attracting something in their life. Or the second, a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram and say, this person and I were going out together and that person is now interested in somebody else and we have broken up. How do I get that person back in my life? Be in a relationship where you feel safe, don't get fooled by butterflies. That's the initial testosterone, and that butterflies may not always turn into a safe comfort space. Go for the green flag where the person appreciates you for who you are. And the third and the biggest green flag is,
Are you guys listening?